Voice with the NRP. This and every Monday, 8:30 to 10 p.m. Join host Stephen Semanas and the NRP candidates as they amplify your voice.
Good evening. I'm Stevenson Manners, and this is Your Voice with the NRP for Monday, October 13th. With me tonight for the next 90 minutes, Dr. Patricia Bartlett. As you would suspect, we will talk destiny. Good evening, Doc.
Good evening, Steve, and good evening to the listening and viewing audiences. And as usual, I would beg your leave to reach out to some special persons who are in our audience. I know Annette. I know she's sitting by her her device long time. Annette, good night to you over there in New York. And we have Keith, my sister-in-law Leonie, Twilla, my cousin Ash. I have not hailed up my cousin Ash for a while. Ash, I have not forgotten you. And of course, Camilla, my good friend there. And Felix, I don't know whether to tell Felix happy birthday or not. A couple months ago, I heard it was Felix's birthday, and I said happy birthday. And today, I'm still seeing on Facebook saying that Felix had another birthday.
I saw it on Facebook. I think his birthday was October 11th.
Well, I'm not so sure.
Maybe he has many birthdays. Why not?
Yes, but I'm going to say happy birthday to you again, Felix. So whatever it is, next time we meet, we'll trash that out because I'm tired of telling you happy birthday, and I know you're not that much older than I am. And of course, I have my niece over there in the USA, my nephew and my sister, and they're tuning in, I hope. And I hope you guys are having a wonderful evening. And of course, over in St. Croix, we can't forget people like Julie and Elroy Swanston, and of course, Hugh, my secret admirer. See Hugh over there in St. Croix. And I do not ever want to forget Montserrat. So before I get to St. Kitts, I'm going to make sure that I send greetings to Montserrat. Montserrat, it's a pleasure to have you as a part of the team. I'm claiming Montserrat as a part of our team because I think he has been very, very active, and he has been helping us quite a lot in terms of advancing the subject matter. Whenever we bring them up, it's never anything too steep for him. Once he gets a fair understanding as to what it is going on here and how it impacts us, he's always willing to lend a voice. And I really appreciate you, Montserrat. Thanks for being in our company. And of course, my cousin over there in St. Kitts, cousin Sinrick, last time I saw him, it was last Saturday, well, not Saturday, just gone, the one before, at my aunt's funeral. Sad time, but it was a pleasure, seeing and greeting my cousin Sinrick over there. And of course, my colleague, Doc. Doc, is always good to have you in the house. And closer home to all of our family and friends and all tuned in here on Nevis, we cannot take you for granted. It's always good to have you guys to keep us company on a Monday night. And as usual, we always encourage you and remind you that you have a part to play in all this. This is not a lecture series. It is an opportunity for us to all interact. And when you have questions to ask or you have great points to make, which I know that our audience is such a savvy audience and in tune with most of the issues and keeping up to times with the issues. And of course, we'll ask you to participate tonight. Give us a little time to kind of get things going, and then afterwards we'll entertain all of your calls.
Most certainly. Well, here goes. On July 10th, it was a rumor. By October 12th, it was a master plan. Things have moved fast and furious, leaving a trail of secrecy and deception. The date, October 12th, is ironic. On that date, 533 years ago, Christopher Columbus stumbled on the West Indies by happenstance. Yesterday, October 12th, Oliver Johnson sought to tell us his master plan is our destiny. Pat, I'm sure you were locked in like everybody else as we had the grand reveal of destiny.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, Steve.
Oh, my word. I thought that everybody at home and abroad were locked in.
Well, I am an exception.
Okay.
Because the thing is, for me, I kind of get upset sometimes when people, try to take me for a fool. And so I normally will rely on some very reliable, people who serve as filters. And so I waited until I saw Dr. Daly respond to say it was garbage, and I waited, and then Mervyn Hanley said it was, nothing that was worth staying up for. And then someone pointed out the irony of the date that he just made reference to.
Saw that on
And the
Facebook.
thing is, Destiny, the name was not chosen by happenstance either. It was deliberate. It was a deliberate selection of that word to name that place Destiny, because what they're trying to project is that nothing is going to stop them. That is what it suggests. It is the destiny. You can't stop destiny. Once it's meant to happen, it's going to happen, irrespective of how you all behave and what your reaction is. And so it's no coincidence. These people, they send these subliminal messages, and of course, we have some people who are very perceptive, and it didn't take long for some of our people to point that out. But like I said, I didn't listen directly. After the fact, like today, after I said, well, we must respond in some, coherent way, and you can't respond necessarily in your best, give it your best shot by just listening to what would have been filtered. So I took the courage, because it took a lot of courage for me to do that, to listen to the gentleman. And after I would have heard Obi say that it was, an AI-generated type of thing, I said, well, you know what, let me just check it, just to see the quality of the technology that was used. And so I exposed myself to that. And for a lot of people who would not have known before, at least they got an, opportunity to see the founder. And what I found very noticeable was that no reference whatsoever was made to his background. He just came on and said he was the founder. He acknowledged that he was the founder of this thing, this Destiny thing. And no reference whatsoever, because I know they monitor us very closely as to what we are saying here. They pick up all of the chatter related to Destiny, related to the SSZ. And so for him to just ignore that and gloss it over as if they just happened to fall out of the sky on October 11th, we know better. So no reference whatsoever to the ideology that preceded him. And we know that there's quite a bit that was circulating on the internet or in social media as it relates to public statements that this particular founder would have made as it relates to his vision to purchase land from a government. And I think they were specific in saying that they're targeting governments that were in financial problems, targeting governments that were in crisis, financial crisis. And he has acknowledged that he has been around for a while, and he claims citizenship.
2014, for a decade.
Along with 50,000 other people, he claimed citizenship since 2014, you said. And that was interesting, because he claims that he's monitoring and things that are going on. So for him not to address that, to put it to bed, to say, our affairs. No. You would have heard this about, or whatever, Lady Foundation. He didn't deny and he did not acknowledge. And I found that was very instructive. Mind you, I guess it goes in the very same vein that this entire project has been presented to us, always in secrecy. You always have to be asking and probing questions, to try to find out exactly what is going on vis-a-vis this development in the south of Nevis. And so for him not to address that at all, I found that was in scant regard to what you guys think. I mean, say what you all like. I would never admit it. I would never deny it. It is what it is out there, and he's not going to disassociate himself from the statement, and he's not going to own the statement. And so Nevisians need to, you need to tune in and hone in on these things. Like you said, he claims citizenship of almost a decade. And what I found interesting in that, though, was that during that period of time, I've never heard of him as a billionaire making any goodwill gesture to the people of Nevis during the period of time that we would have really needed a hand. Being a citizen, I know that had I been in his position and I had at my disposal over $1 billion, and I'm in a country that needed help, I probably would have, during the COVID years, at least extend some measure of goodwill towards the people, because you remember we were struggling to get basic supplies. We were struggling. The hospital was in a quandary because we didn't have enough ventilators, based on the projections that, based on the incidence of the disease and that time and the little that we knew about it. And to source things like ventilators, those things that are life-sustaining equipment, apparatus, or even vaccines. Not that, I don't expect that some people would push vaccines, but I'm just saying, no goodwill whatsoever from someone who claims to have the best interests at heart of the people of Nevis. He wants so much good for us. And during the period of COVID, when we were struggling, not a hand to help, or even if I don't know if maybe he helped, and that was the problem that we're in today. But it has never been publicly acknowledged, and I have never heard in the grapevines either that this gentleman would have been in any way, shape or form instrumental in helping us ride out the storm that we had related to COVID in those years. And so I now for him to come and claim that he wants now to rescue us, I find that quite, ironic.
Do you want to take a call that early?
Well, we would have preferred not to, but entertain the person since they're already there.
Caller, welcome. We had intended to have a rollout and then accept calls, but we'll take your call. Go right ahead.
My concern is why the developer he need a bill? Why he need a bill? If I think I hear him say he's a citizen over 10 years. So what you is telling me now, that if I have $10 million and I going to develop it in St. Kitts Nevis, the government have to go in the house to get a bill? Something in the matter more than the person. And what I will say, this man have more explaining to do and what he said yesterday. Something is not going good. Something is not going good. So it seems as though when you have these people come here to spend money, and I will say this, he insulted the whole of St. Kitts and Nevis yesterday because he said he come here to save us. Well, I know all over the world have problems. And why Nevis? Yes, we live in the OECS and we are a lot better than a lot of countries in the OECS. Well, why he can't go over there go save them? This man is a con artist. And me not going away with no white man. I'm a conscious black man. Me not going away with them. Something is totally wrong. Something is wrong, Steve. And I still ask the question, why he need a bill?
Okay.
Good question.
We'll explore that as we go deeper into the program. Thank you for calling. And to the other callers, we ask you to hold your call. We know you're anxious to get in, but we want you to get an opportunity for the doctor to roll it out. Continue, Pat.
Well, we thank the caller for that intervention because a lot of people have been asking the same question, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to address that, at least from where we sit and our understanding of what is going on. But it's obvious that these people, they're in it for the long game, because they said he has been here since 2014. And NRP, he said that Nevis is now ready. He has now determined that Nevis is ready for transformation.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we sitting on the NRP side of the aisle, we recognize that there's a need for transformation. And that is why NRP had proposed in 2017 the South Coastal Road. Prior to that, there was never any discussions as to opening up the southern part of Nevis, at least not from the other side. And they would have spent much more time in government than the NRP. And so the issue here for me is, why is it that the attempts for our people to develop our own lands have been met with so much resistance from the CCM, administration and the CCM gang, but yet they've been facilitating other people, in the same playground, the same area, mind you. Because if I were to remind our people, there was once a project that was proposed by Dion Daniel. He had dubbed that project Port Daniel. And I think he was proposing it in some place they call Long Bay, which is close to the same area that is in question now. And initially he said it was going to be a 10-acre development, and he was going to have a marina, and he was going to have it like a one-stop kind of thing. You can come in on your luxury yacht, and you can, get refuel there, and all those. It was a very nice project laid out. And he was met with so much resistance, he was not accommodated, because I think, to some extent, it had something to do with getting into the CBI. That was the playground at the time, that is the means that people were getting into development activities around here. And it was facilitated by a lot of other developers. And mind you, Dion is a man who has proven, he has proven that he's a developer that you can depend on. He's someone who delivers. You can, and by the same token, he had another, so it wasn't just one project Dion had for that area. He had another project that I think actually started building in that up at Bush Hill. I think he had called it Bush Gardens. Up in the Bush Hill area, you go through Brown Hill at the top right, and you keep going south. And in that area, I think his idea or the concept for his project was 100 acres development, and these were going to be luxury residences. And so he said initially the initial offering would have been on 35 acres, and these would have been 1 acre plots, and these were luxury development, I'm telling you. And Dion has a standard. You can see it. You can see his DNA on the northern side of Nevis for the most part, and coming all the way down to Pinny's Beach, you can see his footprint. And so this is someone who has been tried and proven, but he was never allowed to proceed. His projects came, but they were never supported by the CCM-led administration. And so he met a stumbling block there. Because remember, you had to get approval in Nevis before you go to St. Kitts. And so we found that out only after the falling out in 2022 when people were fired. And I think it was sometime in June when the third Prime Minister would have made a public statement at a rally, and he would have said, I believe it was a rally, I could be wrong, it could have been at a press conference, but I know that the statement was made. Forgive me if I don't remember the venue. Okay. But he made the statement that Dion has been blocked. And by contrast, he was saying, well, Mr. Brand, who is, we know is a minister in the Nevis Island administration, that he had a project that was brought to Bastille by the Nevis Island administration. They are the ones who took it down there. And he was a sitting minister at the time. So in 2021, he was allocated some 220 shares, which would amount to, at the time, I think like 55 million US, if you're saying $250,000, per share. And so those are monies that were going to Mr. Brand, because it was under the option, the public, I think it was the alternative investment option. So it means you present your project and you don't have to give government anything. You sell your passport, they get their share, and you do your project and get finance, and the balance is yours. But there's all this uproar about the jail project, but it's the same concept that was used to advance Mr. Brand's project to the extent that he got 220 shares, while Dion Daniel was blocked. So we're talking about, putting aside the fact that they blocked Dion, we're talking about 3 projects at least we know in that area that had they been supported by the CCM administration, you could not now be saying that those lands over there are just lying there and insulting people, Nevis people, to say, well, you all have lands there for 100 years and didn't do anything to it. And so it is right now for somebody to come back and recolonize that area. And so that is where, and I think the name of that hotel was the Atlantic View Hotel, yes. And they were boasting that they would have 70 rooms, and they would have spa, they would have conference room, gym, swimming pools, deli, mini mart, all that kind of thing, which was nice on the surface, except they did not advance it anywhere. And in retrospect, I'm now wondering if it is by 2021, there was already some type of, notice to these people as to what the intention was in that area.
I think so.
Because someone was sitting around here from 2014, eyeing us, just coping, just waiting for the opportune time, which seemed to be this time. And so for people to come now and say, these lands are lands that were just there idle, attempts have been made. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that it was in the 2018 budget that CCM would have presented, that they would have put some allocation would have been made to pursue a feasibility study for a road in the southern part of Nevis, that same area. And so for them now to come, or not them, but the Premier, because he has been the chief cook and the bottle washer as it relates to this SSZ thing, for them to come now to suggest that the lands were just idle and we had no developmental plans for that area is just not correct. And it's something that should be debunked, and it's something that Nevisians abroad need to understand, that our people here have been engaging. We have been on a trajectory to make sure that we open up Nevis, and we were thinking that this would be the new frontier in terms of development in Nevis.
Yeah, these the callers, they can't hold it.
They're
they
very
want to get in.
persistent.
Very persistent. Good evening, caller.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, it's not 220, no, it's 120.
120 what?
Shears.
The shares for Brad.
I figured that was it, but I wasn't 100% sure. I think it's more like 120. Oops.
Well, I
Here or there. He got shares.
well, from what I
remember
from the
it was
archives
being
I
put
read
at
was
about 140
million
of 140 million
Dollars.
EC dollars.
dollars, but I'm talking about the shares, the number of shares. The number of shares were 220 shares.
Okay, well,
Which equated to...
he got shares. Let's move on with that.
Well, I don't want to misspeak, but I can research it again, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that it was 220 shares that I would have read, that, I mind you, I didn't count the man shares, just that, that's right. But thanks for the input,
Yeah.
caller, we're not going to argue that tonight. But the point is, shares were allocated and, yeah. So, I think we have made a case, and I don't think I need to go any further, because had those roads been opened up, and I hear a caller who seems so obsessive about it, sometimes I just smile when she calls in, because she's like, government collecting your taxes, and she's right. Government has been collecting taxes on those areas, or the lands in those areas for all those years.
Yeah.
I never thought they had an obligation to at least put in basic infrastructure. Nobody was asking them for anything over the top. It was about basic infrastructure for Nevis people to be able to access there and be able to develop their own lands. Because I can share a story with you. When we were growing up, we were confined to the Brown Hill village area, and that is where your property, but my grandparents would have put aside some lands a little away from where we were living. And so now, if you go in that area, all of my sisters, all of my siblings had lands there. So now we have the area, we call it fence line.
Fence line.
Well, it's fence line. Anything you want, you go fence line. Because if you don't have any sugar, you go fence line. It's your family.
Let's take this caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice.
Good evening, Mr. Manners.
Hi,
I
good
know
evening.
you told us to wait.
But you
but
can't
I
wait.
I couldn't hold back.
Okay, go right ahead.
Here's the thing, Mr. Manners.
Uh-huh.
I've been saying this. And so now I would like the Premier to tell us, or the owners of the lands over there, if they are going to refund all of the taxes that they have collected and did nothing about for all those years. The Inland Revenue Department has evidence that people have been paying their taxes over there. I know for a fact that the government was asked to fix the road because there were more lands to sell over there, and you couldn't make it over there. So is this another evidence of the bad spender? With all those annual taxes that were collected all these years and not being used? When you listen to the Premier speaks, it's almost like, I don't think he's ever been over there. All he knows what's going on over there, to be quite frank with you, right? And so these people have now come in and sat across the table with a smile and a drink and offered a bunch of rubbish because I find it interesting. Do you remember that town hall call with Carly, the exchange between the Carly and the Premier?
How could we
They
forget?
always playing it down.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the fact that he said it was a rumor and he's not going to respond to rumors. So they were able to come up with this master plan quickly after that. In less than 2 months.
Well, we don't believe
Okay.
that, but yeah, we'll get to that. But no, we don't believe him. We don't believe that.
Here's one of the problems that I'm seeing. The CBI program has fallen apart. There are many people online who are complaining about who have paid money for their passports for St. Nevis and have not gotten them. Okay? And so this is probably part of the desperate move to figure out where we're going to get more money from, but not at the detriment of the people of Nevis. Our people worked hard and got those lands to leave for their children, their grandchildren, and the younger people in Nevis. And at some point, it will get developed, but not this way. Not this way. And please, Nevis people, listen. Open your ears, open your eyes. Stop let people come and talk foolishness to you. It's like somebody throwing up a bunch of pictures in front of you and saying, hey, look how pretty this looks. This is going to look really pretty. And you go, oh, yeah. Where have these people been? He's been here for the past 10 years, and he just woke up. What has he been doing, sleeping?
Well, we know better. So yeah, well, thanks for your contribution.
Thanks a lot, and I'm sure you'll get it again a little later. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. I thought I was going to represent her views because I was just making reference to the fact that yes, she has been calling and very persistent about it, and so I'm hoping that the Premier would at some point address her concerns. I'm not so sure she'll ever get her money back, or we or anybody in that area would ever get their monies back. But be it as it may. So we were saying though that the feasibility study was supposed to be done, monies were allocated, and then after that they never spent the money, they just never proceeded. And I'm wondering now, when you look back, because you recognize that these people are so schemish, if at that point people were not already whispering sweet nothings in their ears and make them hold back and discourage Dion and discourage the Atlantic View thing, and so nothing happened, and so now it seems as if they've no. And the caller make reference to the CBI program. We know that where we're at now. We're desperate. And these people have been observing us. And we are not hearing anything any further from the MSR saga. And then it, caused people like me to wonder, because we spend a lot of time thinking about things, and it caused us to come up sometimes with some theories that I don't think it's a conspiracy, but it's a logical explanation sometimes. I mean, this man, he came on the scene, mash up CBI, no, you can't hear from him. It's like, why? This is not normal behavior. One would think that he was, at the point, it seemed very relentless that he was going to get his money back. So, where has he gotten, his satisfaction from, so that he's no longer pursuing it, in the light of what is going on now. And so it makes me want to think that there's some kind of coordinated activity there between those elements. And we'll get to that a little later. But anyway, we have to continue the story because we just have to lay it out in a chronological order that people who are not on the ground can understand the things that have been happening. And so after observing us for quite a while, the CBI crashed, and then Jansen just moved in right away. And then there was this rush. Shortly after we had the question asked by Miss Lawrence in the town hall meeting, they rushed this legislation.
Everything has been cascading.
Right. And so you had this rush of the legislation, and there was a lady who has claimed, it's a Grenadian lady, a Grenadian lawyer. I think her name is Dawn Decote, or I'm not, when it comes to phonics, I'm not good at that, so I'm not so sure if I pronounce her name properly, but there's a lawyer, Grenadian lawyer. Her first name is Dawn, and Decoteau, I think is how you pronounce her name, how you spell her name, phonics and meaning friend. But anyway, she has taken claim that she has been the Commonwealth lawyer and this team, and so on the 10th, she was claiming that the legislation went to the federal parliament in St. Kitts, and she was elated and doing cartwheels of this thing as legislation has passed. And so the next thing now is for the agreements to be signed in short order. That is what she has put in writing, that in short order she's expecting that our government going to sign these agreements, because she was taking credit for that. And so as it relates to the question that people have been asking about this legislation and where it originated, whether it was in St. Kitts that the draft was done or in Nevis, I want to bet that it was not done either in St. Kitts nor in Nevis. It would have been done by the developers. And that is so unusual and out of character. I mean, that is not the way we do business here. You do not have the developers come in and create laws. It means these people already take over the government. Developers are creating laws now for St. Kitts and Nevis. It is troubling. And so that is why it has been so difficult for these people, our politicians, our parliamentarians at the federal level, to be able to explain away some of the provisions in this act. Because this act, you will remember, and I had laid it out, I had pointed out line by line the areas that we need to pay attention to. And so this act gave our Prime Minister unprecedented powers in that he can now sign agreements to facilitate these developers, because they're the ones who gave him the power. And so he is now in a position that he can sign agreement, and notwithstanding anything in any enactment in any other law, save for, I would imagine, the Constitution, that he doesn't have to pay attention to any other enactment anywhere else, any laws that would have made when he's considering signing an agreement for these people to develop in whatever special sustainable zone that is created. And I guess it is still left up to St. Kitts people now to at least decide or declare where these sustainable SSZs are going to be. Because I'm already hearing rumblings and disagreements that are emerging about who wants SSZ to be where. But St. Kitts people seem to think right now that it is a Nevis people problem. But the hope is that you'll have more people come out who would examine this thing, and in a way, not to be promoting the cause of NRP or at the demise of the CCM, but to be objective about it. So when we have people like Charles Wilkin, the Kessie, that is the King's Counsel, who would come out and say that we should repeal.
Let the people know who he is.
Well,
everybody know who his son is.
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know?
I don't know paternity business. I don't get into people paternity. But all I'm going to say, he's quite a renowned person in St. Kitts Nevis, and so Charles Wilkin has come out and he has made a statement, and ultimately he's asking for the repeal of this act, because it's a bad act. And I think we would have pointed out that last time we were here, that it is indeed a bad act. And then we have other people who are coming out. I think we had from the church, we would have had Pastor Connor, who came out and said to us, people, hold on to your land, hold on to your land and leave it for your children. And not only him, but I think we are hearing from James Gaskell. I mean, James Gaskell is someone who has served in this community, who has in service to this country for quite a while, quite a reserved chap. And for him to get into the middle of this melee, he hardly does that. And so we have to appreciate the stance that he has taken, and he too, and I understand he's a lawyer by profession.
Yeah, he is.
By training, maybe not by profession. But, I understand, is also asking for repeal of this act. Because if these legal minds look at this act and they recognize that it is something that could be detrimental to us and the development of St. Kitts Nevis, we ought to start to listen. That is what we're not getting from our premier.
All right, let's take this call. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice.
Good evening, Mr. Manos. Good evening, Dr. Bartlett.
Good evening.
First of all, I congratulate the Chamber of Industry and Commerce and the Christian Council and Evangelist Association, those who came out and discussed what they have to discuss. But we need more people come out and discuss what they have to discuss. One man cannot decide for the nation. And somebody one of these days, somebody will get themselves in some serious, serious trouble with the people. Let the people decide what they want, not the politician. The politician was placed there by the people. You ask me to serve, I would like to serve. You give them a chance to serve, and when they get there, they feel like I said that they are the king, prince, and princess. Let the people decide. Let the people decide what to take place. Prior to an election, you always talk about development, and nothing going to happen. Nevis people, Sinki people, don't worry. Not a thing going to happen. Not a thing going to happen. Nothing going to happen. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Well, thanks to the caller. And where were we?
You were talking about gas.
We're talking about the
people
people, notable people in the community. And not only it has not been confined to just us here in the Federation, other people are listening, other people are tuning in, and people are even, I saw something today and I was taken aback. There was this young, well, let me not say young because I don't know what category he's in. There was this person who I understand wrote something on Facebook and purported to be one of his associate, the Premier's former or colleagues in the field. And I think he ended up making this statement to the extent that he thought that our Premier has gone rogue. I mean, that is loaded.
Yeah.
That is a loaded statement. And people, we need to start to pay attention. Other people looking in, sorry for us. And they recognize what is about to happen. And it's about time that we kind of just, at this point, I don't even want to entertain them with town hall meetings to encourage them with this slackness, because it is slackness, because we recognize what it is. It is a land grab. It is a land grab that is being closely monitored and orchestrated. And remember, we said that we were trying to find out what the genesis of this thing was. And we were saying, based on the case I was presenting, in that we needed the intervention of the Integrity in Public Life Commission, because I thought that it was inappropriate, the dealings between the Premier, the realtor, the firm, and all those entanglements. And so I was making the case that probably we should make sure that we wake up, so to speak, our Integrity in Public Life Commission. I subsequently had an encounter with one of the commissioners on the Nevis end, because remember, we have two commissions, two IPL commissions, and none of them functioning. So I had a conversation with one commissioner, one of those in Nevis, and he informed me then that they can't do anything. They don't have any legislative, no investigative capacity. The law does not allow them to do anything other than just to accept the declarations that are made on a yearly basis. And if they thought that something was irregular, then they can probe that. But in terms of the goings on, in terms of the code of conduct, and you're making sure that people are conducting the way themselves in the way they ought to in public office, he informed me that the Nevis end has no such authority. And that is what has happened, because the ordinance, when it came initially, was loaded with all these things that was coming from the Parent Act in St. Kitts. And we realized what had happened. Just in order to facilitate the corrupt dealings of these politicians in Nevis, the act was gutted, and then from it, they produced this thing they call an ordinance in Nevis that didn't really carry any weight. But they didn't want to be under the umbrella of the IPL in St. Kitts, which is a federal one. And there were some carve-outs for Nevis politicians, which I really don't think should have happened, because it allows them the latitude to accept gifts of the kind that we see people sitting on yachts, and of foreign investors sitting on yachts, and those kind of things. And these are the same people who have to come to you for approval, and to sign agreements and things like that. And people are quite open in that portrayal of their bad behavior in public, and nobody can touch them. It seems that these people are immune to prosecution, it seems, because nothing is happening to curtail that kind of behavior. And it is really disheartening for the people who go in, to jail for little things, that I don't think, rise to that level. But it is what it is, and we have facilitated it up to this point. But the story continues, because we were saying that, okay, that is where it started with the premier, and he brought the investors and the interaction with the first person in line, the first realtor, which is home, and that is where it started. But what I've heard from his mouth since then is that it was his wife who was first in contact with these people. Mm-hmm. And I don't know which one is worse. I really don't know which one is worse. Because when I start totaling these activities now then, or scrutinizing these activities, it means then you had a foreign person who just bought a passport, a foreigner who is a Belgian, I said he was, mm-hmm. A foreigner contacting a foreign realtor with a foreign lawyer to carve out a piece of Nevis. Mm. Now, that seems quite hostile and out of order and seem really to start impinging on our sovereignty. I mean, if Russia tried to go into what the place named Crimea, uh-huh. and take Crimea, and it was an outcry. People thought they shouldn't do that because it's a foreign entity on a foreign soil and claiming it. And here we have this collusion between all foreign entities, the realtor, the investor, and the lawyer, to carve out a piece of Nevis. So I don't know which one is worse, really. Mm-hmm. If it is, we should be investigating that and taking it to some kind of regional court, or we should be investigating the premier. They should take the pick. But either way, it must be investigated either way. Because whether it started on the left side of the pillar or the right side of the pillar, it is wrong. What has happened is wrong.
Okay, let's take this caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice.
Yeah.
Hello, caller. I think you've got a radio.
Yes, I turning down my radio.
Yes, okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah, when I think about it, that husband and a gentleman was not going to the same thing this afternoon. I think I should have some tongue on meat, man. And a dog, so just throw some old meat at them and tell them eat. If they haven't heard you are speaking Saturday, so you don't come down and pass him. No, Mr. Juto. Do you think it's to sit down and talk? You just don't go how the things can and you regret. Yeah, the money may sound good however, but at the end of the day, the native, the people of the place do not like it. Right. They were supposed to, or you don't throw things that is in a dog. So you just throw some more meat. So somebody throw out the freezer and they're burning. They're so long, so they want some new stuff in there now, so they just clean out the freezer and, forget all the meat, the whole meat to the back and to the bottom, and then just fling them out. No, it's a serious thing, and people need news. People think it's need, but people need to process about it, as the lady was just saying. We gotta be thing, you don't do that in your heart, because I didn't born there, but my grandmother from there, and it's kind of hurt, and so him the want, and the way they're separating, so man small like Nevis, but I never hear them say about give them a police station there, and a hospital, one hospital if anything, and if you're not flying out, they feel serious, more. And so on, what kind of step I want to through this hospital and police station business? Because it sounds real funny. Yeah, man, they need to come and back to the drawing board and try to tell Mr. Joe, I hope he tell that you see the man in Abraham Chowie. I still like the man young and the man using his voice to warm to these people in MS back here in the West Indies. Somebody touching on you was in there just to say, I'm going to give 50 million for yourself. No, you're selling us out.
Okay. Caller?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for calling. Pat, I'm going to try to bring something up on my phone here. I hope I get it done. Because you were talking about Genesis. Let me see if I can get it.
Wife was hired by this proposed investor. I think the name is South Nevis Limited. And my wife, I should point out, has been a licensed realtor for 20 years. So she was conducting her real estate business even before I got into politics. She was hired by these people. And why was she hired by them? Because, as I said, there were over 200 landowners in the area. And she was asked, could you find out who owns, and approach them and ask if they're willing to sell. And that is what she and a big team of people overseas have been working on. Finding Andrew Huey owns 10 acres. How do I get in touch with Mr. Huey? Call him. If, for example, in some cases people are deceased, who's in charge of the estate? Can you call them? And that is what the work that she has been doing. Some have said yea, like Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge. Some have said nay in relation to their land. That is their right. Now they've raised in this thing and said, oh, your wife, because it's your premier's wife, there's a conflict. And I'm saying, but my wife is not engaged in any government activity. There's no government land that is selling that she is involved with. And certainly she has a right, like any realtor on the island, to ask people to buy or sell property. That's her job. That's what she does. And so I have asked the question, is it that we're now saying, Mr. Huey, that we want a new standard in the country where anybody associated with a public official cannot have any private business?
The opposition Nevis Reformation Party, the NRP, has been vocal in its criticisms of the project. NRP's Dr. Patricia Bartlett recently renewed those concerns during a radio appearance, arguing that the Premier's wife's role raises ethical questions.
They're happening a little too frequently for us, because that is not the first time an investor would have gone, they have too easy access to the Premier. And the realtor is always involved in some way, not necessarily as a realtor, because there's one point when she was involved as in the Fidelity Trust thing. I mean, if you remember that, some insurance-related matter. I don't know how to be, an insurance person, but these kind of things get all mixed up, and so they have the authority and they could probe. They have the investigative arm of them that they could engage, and so we can get to the bottom of this issue as to where the genesis of the thing is. Whether it started on the left side of the pillow or it started on the right side of the pillow. But the point is that we've had a convergence of the activities of the realtor, the firm, and the Premier, and that is not a good look. Because when we get to the code of conduct, at least being able to examine that, we would see that they have specific guidelines in teaching people and instructing public servants as to how you need to behave and navigate around these kind of issues that would put you in jeopardy as it relates to the offenses and stuff like that.
The debate comes in the wake of the Special Sustainability Zones Authorization Act 2025, which was passed in August. The law has faced heavy criticisms from the NRP, which has called for its repeal, saying it fails to protect the patrimony of Nevisians. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline.
Pat, maybe you forgot, but you said it. The genesis is on the pillow.
Yes, and I think I tried to explore even further, if it came from
Let's
the
take
other
this
side.
caller. They've been trying to get in for quite a while. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice.
Fraternal love and greeting, brother manners, and blessed love, sister of Mother Earth.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good evening.
Blessed love and joy to you all. I just like to ask a question that I would like to know if you could answer this year. How you view on centralization of power?
That's meant for Dr. Bartlett, right?
That's it. Is there
anything
anything
follow
else
up
to add
to
in?
that?
That's the reason why I ask a question, because I see that you all outlining some details in some matters at hand with this whole thieving bill that you all are discussing on this venture of the special sustainable zone that was read in the parliament 2 months ago, and to see when we look at the format of what was taken and how the details of the Prime Minister and the Premier outlining their emphasis behind this legislation, is a shame to see that we're saying we are trying to see why are it going so in this aspect of our people being discarded against towards land development. And that is why I asked what is the explanation towards centralization of power, because I know these old crooked politicians who won't bring the explanation to it like that. So I'd like to know you, Sister Bartlett, who are aspiring to go into these political garbage that I are defending on here. Then you all have to realize we can't have these gangsters penetrating on our young generation and then saying that we're looking to have aspire good leadership is a waste. So that is why I put that question out there like that. Because who said they're so intelligent and have all these masters and bachelors and these MBA and BBA are all thief and cooks and parasites. You all have a blessed night.
Okay, good night. Thank you for calling.
Well, that was quite a loaded question, and I appreciate the engagement. As it relates to the power and the power that is vested in any particular official in government, it really stems from the constitution that we have inherited. We've heard quite a bit about people suggesting that it's time for us to reform our constitution because we are old enough, we are adult now, you know, since 1983.
Let's take this caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice.
Good evening, Steve, and good evening to Pat,
Good
to
evening.
your panelists, to your panel. Good evening. Steve, I have a couple of concerns. Pat, please bear with me, because it's quite a few concerns, but I'll be short and brief. Now, what I realized, we had a CBI program, was going good and healthy. We take the money and we give it to the other people, and we call them investors. So we give our money to the investors. The SSC zone got money, but the other investors need the plantation, OTI, Kitty, all the rest, we give them. Our small business people been struggling and suffering. We never get no money to develop. So they got money now, and they, the beach, the Penny's Beach. Now I'm going on Penny's Beach. I saw a guy down the building of something. This guy had something in Charlestown. He had something over by Dean Place. He got something all over. And they get an incentive. They get in the duty-free concession. And we as small business people in the country, we not get no kind of incentive. Our government are giving them incentive. No, Pat, you're going to be a candidate in the next election. I am going to tell you something now, whether you believe it or not. You see this SSC zone that they have in? If NRP get in power, and it must be said, it's not going to happen. So all these people talking about the SSC zone and it coming, it's not going to happen. But what's going to happen? All these people are going to pour money into the CCM party.
True.
Wait, this phone is disturbing me. Okay, they're going to pour money into the CCM party. CCM is going to have a lot of money to run this election. One of the things we must be telling the people, stick to your guns. Listen to me. Don't let money buy out this election. Money is going to talk because these people got money. Now, another thing is, Steve, you remember we had an 80 acres of land situation some years ago, 2006? Some years ago, the 80 acres of land?
Yeah.
2006.
These people now could go around and buy that land in the 80 acres of land. Twice now they make a attempt to take away Barnsdott land. Twice, 2 times. They done sideline Barnsdott, now they're going up again. Go trouble Barnsdott again. Because they definitely need Barnsdott land. What Nevis people are not realizing, once the SSZ zone put foot in Nevis, that's it for Livingston. The cost of living going up. I saw a guy do the poem and say we're going to go to order meat and stuff like that. Take that seriously.
True.
We are going to be in problems. You don't have the money. Going back to the beach. No, you go back to the beach. This beach land that they have there with, I don't know the guy name, whoever it be, Yatsman, whoever going to get that security up spot. Next thing they're going to run Dean and Michigan on the beach all the time. The easiest thing was to do was to keep this land, do a 4-room, 2 room upstairs, 2 room downstairs for bars. So you got 4 bars. And you give that to Nevis people. Nevis has lost its thing. We don't have nothing packed. We don't have nothing to go with.
True.
No, when you look at the destination, if the destination was so great, how come they were hiding it from us? No, another thing is, Steve, I got 5 acres of land, and this is true, in 4 different areas, and they have a bush. So because they got bush, you could come and take me land and say, me can't build all the houses. Me got children, me got grandchildren, who's going to get children and grandchildren. This is how people do. My parents keep it for me. I am to keep it for them.
Thank you.
Can't keep it for the people we land.
Okay, caller, wrap it up now because we've got another caller trying desperately.
Let me just wrap it up, Pat. I want you to do your campaign and do your campaign strong. Do a little go around and talk to the people. Don't get angry with the people. Because Obi says something, saying something else. Everybody has an opinion.
Okay.
Obi don't get you do what we say.
Okay, caller, we have to go to this next
opinion.
call.
Thank you.
I think the caller has left us.
Yes. Come back.
Caller, good evening. Welcome to Your Voice.
Yes, it's all right. What's what happened in America? Mr. Trump gets back up, you know. You're from the guy who could do space thingy and Musk and all them deal. You see what happened after he get into office? He do this tell his all how that he must get vexed with him and go back. And he must be, so they say must be trying out of state from the state to back to Africa. He's all right. You ain't gonna honor in your own country. No, Mr. Trump, good here. Putting people, we need to stupid enough. Because it's the way he want to go attack Venezuela now. And Venezuela and Grenada. And we is good friends. Because they do houses here for us. I ain't get none to live in, but I said, sorry, I couldn't get a cheaper one now. How now? Right? And they helping us. And the petrol and what we're going to do. We're going to step into darkness and beg them no. Do not tangle Venezuela, you know. Because why make you understand if you want to take over because they have a big oil field, ain't no more no drugs. No. Because drugs are more drugs in America. All before these drugs start come up in on this phone. I used to go movie. So them with these all the drugs thing. This, that, then all kind of thing. So I don't know, that's just a trap.
Okay.
And they don't want to make it a base. That guy, they respect him a lot. He better say no.
Okay, caller.
Because we're going to get bad thing in the Caribbean.
Okay.
If Trinidad is going to be on cargo fishing no more, everybody on sing stuff.
All right, caller, we hear you. It's a very busy night indeed. We're asking our callers to be very precise in making your calls. Here we've got another. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Your Voice.
Steve,
Caller, you've got a radio on in the background. Turn it down, please.
Sorry. One of the things that piqued my attention yesterday as I listened to this gentleman do the launch about this Destiny thing, he spoke about scholarships to Navision children. Now, he's been around here for 10 years. Has he not heard about scholarships before? And does he know that Charlestown Secondary School have their graduation in another month? What would he like to donate to the Charlestown Secondary School students who are graduating next month? That's one. Number two, they're claiming that they're going to give Navisions 5% of their profits. Of what profits? And who is going to verify those profits? How are we going to know if these profits are real or not? I mean, this whole thing is like, it's a sham. It's a sham. And I'm speechless that they would think that we're that idiotic to fall for this. Really.
Okay.
I mean, when you look at the pictures of what he showed yesterday, I would like to know if they knew where they were, or somebody went in a helicopter and just took pictures from the air. Did they know where they were? Where is, up to now, he never told us in there where his project was going to be, where the markers for that project, where they're going to be.
Well, I'll tell you, caller, it's hard to do that. The party leader met with the cabinet of the NIA on Friday, and she was told that already they have 1,440 acres. And we learned via Facebook that 189 acres in my neck of the woods, which is not contiguous with the 1,440 acres, taking a grand total to 1,629 acres. So it's a project which is expanding at speed. The PRO has told it on occasions that a zone could be up to 5,000 acres. Remember, they took the original numbers out. This is cascading and moving fast.
Steve, I've always felt from the very beginning that there wasn't going to be not just one SSV zone or SSZ zone or whatever you want to call it in Nevis, because there are places all over Nevis that can be bought if the price is right and the seller is right. But while they're doing all of that, how are they going to help Nevisians get a brighter day in Nevis? Because this is not going to happen. It probably will never happen. And if it does, it's not going to happen for a long, long time. And to the gentleman again, I would like to know if he's been asleep for the last 10 years. He needs to wake up.
He was not asleep,
He needs
darling.
to understand that Nevisians are not as stupid as he thinks.
Timing is everything.
Timing is everything.
Timing
yeah.
is everything.
He is not.
Okay.
He wasn't sleeping. He was just biding his time. These people play the long game.
Oh yeah.
They have money to play the long game, because remember initially what he would have said in his essay in social media is that he was waiting to buy a piece of land that they themselves could occupy in a free society, which in their philosophy, they do not welcome any force from government for anybody to conduct business or to interact with each other. For them, human interaction should be free of any kind of intervention from government. And so they really wanted to find an area that they could govern themselves, as a sovereign nation. And so it seems like we're treading back to the days when we had the tripartite state, where we had St. Kitts, Nevis, and Gwilla. And so now we're going to have St. Kitts, Nevis destiny. It seems like that is what the plan is. And so the caller made reference to the sweeteners that were talked about yesterday. And these people, if they know that they need to sweeten the pot for us. Because they know that our government is struggling, because that is why they have been cooping us. It's like, in the wilds, you prey on the most vulnerable. And so they wait until you're weak, and you can't get water, and then they pounce on you.
To stop, go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. And so to sweeten the pot yesterday, what he said was that he was going to give 20% of the profits, whatever profits they make. And I'm still trying to find out what are the economic activities, what will be the engine of growth in this particular area, because they're talking about some billions of dollars, they're measuring in. And I'm like, how does that translate to, from what activities? It can't just be from what they would have shown us yesterday in the AI-generated video, where you had people walking along the promenade holding hands. I want to be young again when I see that. I see people walking along the promenade holding hands. I mean, like the pie in the sky kind of projection that was made yesterday. And I'm saying to our people, these are the pot sweeteners. So 20% of the profits from whatever the activity is, it has not been disclosed. We're still waiting. Remember, mind you, these people have a history. They are coming to us as Bitcoin people. It is not unreasonable to expect that those are the kind of activities they might be engaged in. And if these are the activities they engage in, then it has ramification for our power grid as well as water. Because you're talking about supercomputers that you're going to have to keep cool. So you were talking about considerable amount of water. Someone was saying to me, and I don't know really the mechanics as to how you keep these supercomputers cool if you can do it in the ocean. But someone was projecting that what they're suggesting would happen is that the seabed lease would allow them to be able to put their supercomputers in the sea in order to get them cool. I don't know if that is what is anticipated. Nobody's talking about the possibility that if you're engaged in a particular profession, that is what you might want to continue to do, since that is what you master, you have mastered. That is how you became a billionaire, and so it is not unreasonable to expect that that kind of activity could happen after we would have signed off on the agreements and given them free rein to the lands and all that. And I'm like, but I have not heard anything, no mention whatsoever to geothermal yesterday, which I thought was strange.
Well, there wasn't much about sustainability.
Well,
didn't hear how the area is going to be powered. Didn't hear where the water source. Just that we're going to have some lovely lakes and all that sort of stuff. They were short on sustainability yesterday.
Yes, and so I don't know if these are going to be freshwater lakes or saltwater lakes, because of course it could be saltwater lakes too. So maybe it is the plan to pump water from the sea into the water. I don't know what the plan is, and we still have to wait. But like I said, these are sweeteners. So 20% of the profits, and I don't know profit from what. I do understand that we are selling them lands, and some people have been getting been offered $6 a square foot or less or more, depending on the level of resistance I think that you put up. And so it is what has been signaled to us through this SSZ Act is that the developer would have the authority to be able to auction off the same lands that they bought from us. No, it means that he can turn over. He doesn't really have to get into Bitcoin. It is possible. He can just sit back and just sell all the lands for a higher value because he has created this little paradise in paradise, and people are flocking in, 10,000 of them. And so it is possible that from that, but we're still hearing I think it was Section 8 of the Act, we're still talking about concessions in these agreements. And so we are yet to see what these concessions are. What is it we are giving up for this 20% of we don't know what is the projection for these 20%? I've seen some figures there that does not suggest it's just for hospitality. I did not hear any reference made to any hotels yesterday either. I just heard hospitality. Mind you, hospitality is broad. Maybe they just need us to come make up the bed. I mean, I don't know what is involved in that. And so we have to be so careful. And when people start giving you things that you didn't ask them for, you have to wonder why. And so they recognize that we have been talking about a sustainable development, a sovereign wealth fund that has never gotten off the ground. And so the central government or federal government has struggled with establishing this. And so they're now saying that they would give us 10% towards...
No, but he was very specific. And I mentioned that to somebody who called me right after. He said a sovereign wealth fund for Nevis.
Yes, but when they go over to Syncits would get their share too.
Oh, let's take this caller. Good evening, caller. It's got to be quick.
Good evening, Steve.
Hi, good evening.
I listened to all the sweet offer that was made by this particular investor yesterday. And the first thing that comes to my mind is a reminder of crime bosses, drug lords, and pimps, where they seize on vulnerable people, give them something to set them up, make them feel good, and then exploit them to the maximum to do what they want. What these guys has done has exploited our Prime Minister and Premier. And so, in the process, they are going to take over Nevis and run Nevis because the person they are offering substantial financial backing for everything that is taking place in Nevis. It means that they will own Nevis, so they will own us as the people. We need to rise up and understand that Joe and Mark have sold us out.
Pat, you have been at pains. You've come here night after night, referred to the IMF report, gone through it segment by segment, look at the recommendations, look at the observation, and you have been saying all along, we're on a steady decline in terms of our economic circumstances. St. Kitts is no different with the decline in the CBI receipts, etc. How much of this is a bailout for the governments? Because we heard yesterday 50 million. The Premier has been telling us all year. You said in January not a stone will be moved at the hospital. And I looked at you and I couldn't believe you. We're almost at the end of the year. The Premier finally came to tell the truth that what we do have is a financial gap. And so these developers are proposing to be the government. They're going to finish the hospital and, in his words, whatever infrastructural projects. So where are we financially? And they've come to fill the breach. Let's take this call. Good evening, caller. Make it quick, please. We've got a lot more calls coming in.
Good evening. Let me start by saying soil do not spoil. So let the Premier take back his words. Anyway, my concern is these people want to come and walk all over us and then give us back something. If they're going to be doing duty, having their own immigration and their own customs, who going to be coming in and what they're going to be bringing in? That is the biggest question we have to be concerned about, because we are not going to know who the people are. We are not going to know what they're bringing in. So when they give us back something, those are the money they will pay in Nevis when they land at our airport and pay customs. That is making us look really, really stupid. And I'm wondering, when these people consider themselves Premier and Prime Minister, I said consider themselves, I wonder when they lie down in their bed, what they say to themselves, if they don't think they look really stupid as leaders. Good night and goodbye.
Hi, good night, caller. Thank you. And you've got a few things to answer, but I want to reflect on something which three callers back mentioned. The impact that the influx of 7,000 to 10,000 persons can have on local and federal elections. They're almost going to double our population. You live in St. John's, which is already, I think, the third largest constituency in the Federation, 3 times the number of constituents in my constituency of St. George. This zone falls in those 2 constituencies. One represented by the Premier, the other by his cousin Eric Evelyn. What impact will an influx of 7,000 to 10,000 people have on the process of elections in our federation? And of course, on the all-important campaign financing, for which we have no laws.
Well, that is going to continue. We know that. I don't think that divisions are of the opinion that monies have not yet, been channeled into the CCM from the coffers of these billionaires. I mean, that is how they manage to buy elections. And so we have to be careful. And St. Kitts people are to, my grandmother used to say, if your neighbor house on fire, must wet yours.
All right, let's take this caller. Good evening, caller. You have to be quick. It's a busy night.
Good evening, Steve. Good evening, Dr. Bartlett. I'm just calling to give my 2 cents to the debate and this vexing issue. Steve, to answer your question, it is very simple in my mind. These people are coming to Nevis. These racist libertarians, that's what they are. By the way, I have seen posts from Johnson showing clear sympathy for Charlie Kirk. I just want Nevisians to take note of that. These people are simply coming to Nevis to make Nevisians the minority in their own country, just as it happened in South Africa and other countries in Africa. Nevisians, please wake up. Do not sell your lands to these people. You will never get it back. And sooner or later, generations to come will not have lands to purchase in Nevis. They do not care about empowering black people and elevating black people. This is neocolonialism. exploitation in the 21st century, dangling different trinkets before the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. Nothing more. They're coming to take over, and we got to rise up and stop this. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. That's frightening. We may have a Group Areas Act like they had in South Africa, and for which Nelson Mandela fought against. Pat, frightening.
Well, and the thing is, like you said, we're walking into it. We know what it is. We've seen what it is, and sometimes the posts that I see from some people as if they don't fall into the 98% category of people who are literate, because for you not to be able to see something that is so plain, because like I said, this guy is not apologizing for the stance that he might have taken before. He's not offering any explanation, he's already put it out there. It's up for you to accept it and deal with it, because I think that is the point at which we are. And so you asked the question as it relates to the impact that such a society can have if they were so minded on our elections. And every time issues are raised, mind you, the act already passed, and every time issues are raised, we just get in these kind of responses from the authority. Now we're going to look into that. We're going to make a carve out, and I don't know on what merit, how are we going to do that? If someone comes in and they are a citizen, how do you deny that citizen without ending up at the Privy Council? How do you, and these are people who have money, who would challenge you. And so if they were to have a class action suit against us, what is going to happen to poor Nevis? We already broke, they want to really wipe us out here. And so we have to be so careful as to how we go. And I was, so if they decided that they wanted to support this king that they're making, because the legislation that they have crafted almost make the prime minister a king. But what St. Kitts people need to be able to understand, and they better start paying attention, is that it's not a Nevis people problem, because as it is now, they're bolstering this one over here, the premier. And if he were to become the prime minister, Dr. Drew would have been prophetic in what he said the other day as it relates to a Nevis politician being able to come to St. Kitts and decide how the management of St. Kitts lands are going to be done. And so they have to be mindful of that, because we know how close these elections are, and these people with money have influence. And Dr. Joe himself has publicly acknowledged that elections can be bought. Apparently he has seen firsthand that elections were bought. So he has had the experience. So they can't sit in St. Kitts, fold their hands and think that the SSZ only pertains to Nevis, because what it is now, it is setting up so that these people can choose who they want to be the House Negro, who it is they want to be king. And so I think that the person who they can manipulate most at this point in time, who has made himself amenable to it, he has offered himself, use me. In church, like you go up and you say, Lord, use me. He has presented himself to these people, use me. What the cost of that, he's going to, sort that out, with his conscience and whatever else. So we have to be mindful of that. They could impact our elections. I mean, I don't have access to $1 billion. I don't believe people really should be bribing people to vote. It happens. So as it relates to that, I could never compete. I'm going to try my best to appeal to the people based on the issues that we are presented with as a viable alternative to what we have now, because what we have now, and the small business person who called earlier has alluded to the fact that the Premier has not been servicing the interests of the people of Nevis.
Let me take this caller. Caller, it's 10 minutes to 10. You've got to be precise. Go right ahead.
Mr. Brantley didn't pass the land laws in the Nevis Island Assembly. He went to St. Kitts and passed it in the Federal House. Mr. Brantley already got Dr. Joe foot pie. Good night. He already got the Prime Minister foot pie. Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Yeah, we reckon.
Easy night. Let's take this one. Good evening, caller. Be precise.
Hi, good evening, Steve.
Hi,
I have one question. I'm just wondering, are our leaders tone deaf? Are they not paying attention to what people are saying? Are they too steep in this whole SSZ thing that it's no turning back? I don't get it, because it is very frightening that our black brothers are going to sell us out. South Africa did not get, South Africa had to deal with apartheid for 40-something years. Can we afford that in Nevis? Those are the questions that I'm asking myself, because if we act like we don't care and we're not interested in what is happening, it means that the children and the grandchildren would not have, they would be in a system that they won't be able to manage. They're going to be second-class citizens. And I can't believe that this whole process has been going on for so long. They had no intentions of telling us until the deal is done. The Four Seasons did not need a SSZ zone. Marriott's didn't need one. And all the hotels, Hyatt didn't need one. Why should we create one within our society for something that is like a pie in the sky? Nothing that the Premier says has ever materialized. Nothing. You remember when he had $1 million for scholarships? Who benefited from that? Nobody can say that they did. And so all these things that they're coming up with is just basically to bait us. And you got to be sensible. Look at the track record of the man. The track record of the man said he is incompetent. He has not accomplished anything. He will leave in a legacy of failure and dismantling governments. So why would we believe in this last hour arena that he will do something for us? Good night.
Good night. Caller, the Premier said last week that he cannot afford his legacy to be one where people say he ain't bring nothing to Nevis.
He said that?
He said that last week. And James Gaskell, who's very wise, said in his very first article that he thinks the Premier is in a bind. Nobody goes on a spree to grab land like that, knowing that there might be problems at the end of the line. Why you said, Pat, that a lot of power in this legislation is vested in the Premier and Prime Minister. The Premier cannot turn back.
I agree, Chair, he can't, because the way it is now, and I think I've been calling our attention to the fact that Nevis was in a crisis, a financial crisis, and we've been in crisis mode for a while. St. Kitts was able to buffer for a little while, but now St. Kitts are facing the same headwinds because the CBI has crashed thanks to the MSR saga, and that was orchestrated through.
Let's take this caller. You've got to be very quick. Go right
very, very, very short. Mr. Manard, could you call Scantel?
Yes.
Think it's a Nevis Telephone Communication Limited?
Yes, I do.
Okay, now talking about these foreign investors coming about the kind of zone they're going to create, right? The same profit that we should have been making from Scantel, that should have been going, percentage of that should be going to the sovereign wealth fund. A lot of the nastiness took place. Anyway, I'll talk to Thursday night and explain exactly what I have to say. Respect.
Okay, respect. Now, he's talking about Thursday night because the Prime Minister is having a town hall meeting along with the Attorney General. The Premier of Nevis has promised a town hall meeting 1 week after Colleen Lawrence, so that's in the middle of July. He has chosen to go to the Chamber, Hotel Association, Christian Council, who he told in 2022 that the church has to do their business, and he's doing his business. So he's looking for friendly territory. Good evening, caller. Be quick, 30 seconds.
Steve, to solve the problem, the whole situation is the pirate is coming back again.
They're coming, they're here. Well,
they're here, but they're back again. So look at that. All right.
Wants me to play that song. So the Premier is looking for some safe territory to have discussions. When is he going to come to the public? When are the town hall meetings? So many more questions and answers.
Yeah, but the question that you had asked earlier as it relates to the involvement of the... Never.
Hi, good evening. Caller, 30 seconds. Turn your radio down, please, and be quick.
Yes, sorry about that.
Mhm.
Yes, what we need is to demonstrate. People and some neighbors need to come down and think it. We ain't doing that like overseas. You ain't doing it like something from those anything that send military people here and there. People dead to the street. What happened to us? We sleep too much. Okay.
Okay. That's a good point. Let's take this one. Caller, you've got to be quick.
The Premier is worried about legacy.
That's what he said
No.
last week.
Well, he's created his legacy already, a trail of destruction and incomplete projects. Nothing accomplished. That will be his legacy. Good night.
Good night. The last caller, I know you have a lot on your plate. We have 5 minutes to 10. Talked about coming over. Let's take this one. Good evening, caller. Welcome. You've got to be quick. 30 seconds.
Steve, I know that. I was out this afternoon and I just reached home. Steve.
Yes.
Let me show Mark Brantley and Mr. Lloyd Terrence Joe, is that they're too late with this town hall meeting, The town hall meeting was to come long before. They want to come long before. It's the people in Nevis and the people in Bastille. That Jew know what's going on. He's a bad fellow. He and Mark Brantley, they're trying to get this thing, just push on the people, just like what Douglas do over the Southeast Peninsula and hang on walking up. I want them to not jam down mean this hang on walking up. So when they talk, they want to come and talk to people. Nobody want to talk to them. The damage done. He don't bring it down in the parliament. Any organ in the Island Assembly. He bring that down to Bastille. We ready for them. Janice, Miss Bartlett, and Jerry, are you poor and are your boots because we're backing down. They ain't getting away with this. Have a good night, Steve.
Thank you, caller. Now, when the Nevis Assembly met last, of course, there was a silent protest, and the Premier said he see one of them out there with a poster mark repeal, and he said nothing pass inside there, and take that with the law pass. So both leaders have been kicking the ball back and forth. As far as Brantley is concerned, it wasn't passed in the NIA. As far as Jew concerned, I have no control over lands in Nevis. That's under the control of the NIA. Even though his friend Dwyer Astafan said, not so quick. It must come to your desk. So you have a function to perform. Now, the party leader has written to the Attorney General, and last Sunday at the convention, she said it's 40 days. This morning, she said she had not received an answer, so it's 48 days. She has called for the act to be repealed. Is it time that we take this to Bastille? Because let me tell you, this thing is running on two separate tracks. The poster about Jews meeting is only going to talk about the legislation, and he says how it's going to advance the sustainable island state agenda. They won't be dealing with the Nevis issues because we've got it on our doorsteps. How do we get to the federal government and let them know they're complicit in it, and people in Bastille as well?
I think they're well aware of the sentiments of people in Nevis, and I've seen this push, very persistent from some elements on St. Kitts, trying to suggest that Nevis should take this SSZ. Mm-hmm. One was so bold to recall what he says was a story about two islands or two territories where the smaller territory was sent a school bus from the larger territory that had received 2 school buses, and the people on the smaller territory stoned the bus, and the kids had to end up walking to the school. And he's trying to suggest that divisions are turning down something that is good. And what I would like to do is to challenge the people who have that mindset on St. Kitts that the SSC is good for Nevis. All you take it.
Take it.
All you take it. All you have this space down there that you all can dedicate. Yes, they have the lands. That's what I meant when I said the space that you can dedicate to this without it really being maybe an inconvenience for you, the people of St. Kitts, because you have much more lands than we have. And the truth of the matter is, Nevis should not be used to sell 10,000 passports so that the CBI could at least float for another year or 2 years. And so the push for Nevis people to try to suggest that we are stupid people, I don't think is appreciated over here. And I think that the message has gone to Bastille to suggest to the people down there that we are enlightened people. It's up to them to open their eyes. Because for in as much as they think that the people of Nevis are going to succumb to this thing, they have to make sure that the infiltrator does not end up in the seat in Bastille as the Prime Minister, because then he can use the lands in St. Kitts and be able to manage the lands in St. Kitts the way he wishes. And not necessarily his wish, but because he's being used as a pawn. So the SSZ, even if it had started in Nevis, and I don't think that it is going to start over here, because the majority of Nevisians are resisting this thing silently for the most part, because we are not a righteous type of people. We don't go out there and cause riots. We hardly even want to go and have a peaceful protest. That is not the way we do business. But if St. Kitts would at least do the, and take their obligation to the Constitution seriously as it relates to the way our elections are conducted and the electoral system is managed in a way that that integrity is an integral part of the operation, then Nevis should not have to endure people like Mark Brantley imposing themselves on the people of Nevis, and by doing so, with the monies of these billionaires, they are using, the CCM has been using the monies that you don't ever see them frying a fish or Johnny cake, and they laugh at the people in NRP, because we have decided that that is not what we're going to do. We're not going to compromise our integrity. We're not going to be beholden to any outside influence at the expense of our people. And so I feel very passionate about this issue. But I want to tell my friends in Bastille, wet your house. Wet your house. When somebody else's house on fire, wet yours, because it's coming to engulf you guys. Because if it starts in Nevis, it's not going to end there. Because not only they have their eyes on the sustainable development zone that we have been hearing about, but activities have been going on outside of that zone to acquire as much as they can in Nevis. So they're going to pressure us, push us to the ends of the envelope. They're going to push us to the margins, and they're going to have their way in Nevis if we allow them, and I don't think Nevis people are minded to do so. We are going to fight for our lands. The NRP is committed to it. I've said before that this ought not to have been a political issue. This transcends politics. It is a civic matter. It is a matter that goes to the very core of who we are. We are Nevisians, and we are proud Nevisians. We never didn't want all your second-hand school bus, and we do not want the SSZ. Take the SSZ, sell your passport, and I'm not even so sure that we should even be making noise at this point for any fair share. That is a dead issue, and it goes with the Premier. Just one thing we would like to ask you people in St. Kitts to do is to be fair. Make sure that the electoral system is fair so that Nevis people could do what they ought to do to rid themselves of this cancer that is called the CCM, because they mean no good for the people of Nevis. Even outside of the SSZ, the caller earlier, who identifies as a small business owner, he started to talk to some of the things that are happening in Nevis. They're disgusting. The way the Premier has been treating the people of Nevis. The people of Nevis have been alienated from their lands. They have been alienated from any kind of concession that they could get in government. They're not being empowered. You have people who are coming in from outside to take over things like a little restaurant, you know, and we're talking about someone who may have more than one restaurant already, more than two, more than three. Why are you encouraging these people, empowering these people, and your own people are here? And for some reason, Mr. Brantley seemed not to like Nevis people. I don't know what we would have done to him. I can't understand it. You know, I'm trying to understand, you know, and I think maybe this might be a good time to get less passionate about it and be able to look at it in a critical way, without emotions involved. But for him to be treating people the way they've been treating people, you know, Nevis people, Dion cannot get a break, and everybody knows that Dion is probably the best developer in St. Kitts Nevis, and he can't get a break to operate in Nevis. At one point, he had to go to St. Kitts to try to survive because he was not being facilitated in Nevis.
We're already over
He was
time.
not being empowered by the government in the NIA.
Okay, we won't be taking more calls. It's 5 minutes past already, and it's been raining cats and dogs here in Nevis. We've got to get home. Wrap it up, Pat.
Yeah. So I want to encourage our people, stay focused, you know. Maybe sometimes some of us might need to take a break away from the naysayers over in St. Kitts. Keep off the internet. When they post things, just ignore them, you know, because they're the ones, I think, who are giving energy to this premier over here. A lot of them, you know, a lot of Nevision have been expressing the disappointment in the way that Dr. Jew has been allowed himself to be manipulated and be in the position that he's in now, in that he seemed not to be able to say no. He's still pushing. No, but I do understand where he's coming from. He's coming from a place where St. Kitts was doing relatively okay. He took over the reins, the CBI crash. Things are looking brown. And so these billionaires coming and they're floating all these things, and I do understand he wants to be able to sell some passports. But what I'm going to say to him is this: call in the technical assistance that you can get from the IMF. They're not going to charge you anything extra. Call in the governor of the central bank. Have a conversation. Find out how best we can be facilitated in terms of the way we manage our debts. I know we have not been very receptive as it relates to the recommendations that they have made in the past. If you need to ask penance, what they say, that's what they call it in the church.
What's penance?
Yeah, if you have to pay penance or whatever, you know, if you have to beg pardon, whatever you have to do that, and let us start thinking critically and seriously about sustainable development. Because this thing that has been presented to us as the SSZ, as a sustainable development goal, does not bring sustainable development for the rest of Nevis. It is a disaster in the making. And I think it is a good time for us to just step back. It's a good time for us to have a fair election. I've said to the Premier, and I'm going to say it again, put the matter to the people. Call the election now. Put that as the only essential issue. And if the people of Nevis in a fair election decide to return you, all I'll say to you is congratulations at that point. I couldn't congratulate you the last time because I know the shady deals that went on. I know you didn't win. But I am willing to move on, step back and let people decide for themselves. Let it be a fair election. Put the matter to the electorate in Nevis and let them decide. And then let us move forward. If they want to have white people come and recolonize them, it is their right. Maybe all of us might not agree, but we are in a democracy. That's the way it's supposed to work. We're not supposed to have no duress in terms of taking these decisions that you're taking. And it seems to me like not only the Nevis Island administration is under duress, but it seems to me that by extension, the Jew-led St. Kitts administration, think its government is also under duress, because I cannot understand, I cannot find any logical explanation as to why we're still persisting in the face of what we are facing. I cannot understand why, if the Attorney General's father is going to say to him, boy, back off, he's your elder, he's your senior, he's more seasoned, they've seen much more, and you're still deciding that you're going to plow ahead. This doesn't make any sense. What is happening is not anything that most divisions, neither home nor abroad, I think would endorse. And it's about time the Premier recognized that he has failed. And he has not just, it didn't just happen. It is a progression. He has failed and continuously been failing, like the female caller had made reference to before. He has failed. He just needs to recognize that it's time for him to go. He has already said that he recognizes that he's in the checkout lounge. Just go. That is what Nevis people want. And in order for us to get to that, because I'm hearing people getting very heated, and the kind of things I do not want for us to have that kind of a violent revolution in Nevis. Let it be a quiet, peaceful revolution. Let us go to the polls. Let us decide if the SSZ is really what we want. If it's not what we want, then Mr. Premier, take whatever millions you have already accumulated and leave.
That's a wrap. 10 minutes past 10. We've given you 10 minutes over time. It's rainy and wet, so we're heading home. Good night. See you next week.
Your voice with the NRP. This and every Monday, 8:30 to 10 p.m. Join host Stephen Semanas and the NRP candidate